welcome to Wolf United WFC. I do apologise. I wish you could have seen what I just saw. What Barry was doing off camera then as the intro was playing.
Okay. What are you talking about? I did nothing of the sort.
Oh, my life. So Charlie and Barry were having a little singing session before we went live, and Barry decided to continue that on, and he was dancing with the little Elvis. That's all I could see as we were about to go live there, hence I started laughing as soon as we came on. Yes, hello. We're obviously going to be talking about the Lewes game and all those things. We're going to obviously talk about the goal. You all know what it is. It's the three of us. It's a match reaction. It's a Monday at 7 o'clock. It's the same old stuff, and it's another win. So that is great. FA Cup finalists, semi-finalists for the first time. I got a round two ahead of myself there. Semi-finalists, obviously, for the first time. So we're going to get into all that, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of Skinner's comments as well towards the end. And as always, obviously, we'll get our player of the match poll in the chat as well. I wanted to start with something kind of, Charlie, that obviously you were the one person out of the three of us that was at the game. On Friday, on the preview, a lot was spoken about how good the pitch was going to be and that the stadium's had a lot of renovation and it was a bit more modern than the last time we went there. Did you kind of feel that? What was it like being there and kind of the pitch quality and all those kinds of things as well?
Yeah, it was really nice. Yeah, really nice pitch. I really liked where the stadium was. Obviously, they've done a lot of work. They've got a seated stand and they had a home and away standing section, which was clearly defined, which was really good. Not nice. Lewes fans are good, I think, made lots of noise. Not a massive fan of the saxophone. I don't want us to have a saxophone, but they loved a bit of Queen on sax, which was good. It's interesting because it's sort of like the pitch is sort of got hills around it. So it looks like, some of those Europa League sort of in Kazakhstan grounds you'd go to where it looks like it's in the middle of like a cavern. It's like that. It was really good atmosphere. You can see how much effort they've put into making it like match ready generally. And you can see all the effort that Lewes have been putting into their football for the men's and the women's side. So yeah, really enjoyed it. Only major disappointment was there was only alcohol-free beer. That was the only disappointment.
That's disgraceful, that. I mean, I don't drink, so I don't know why I'm complaining, but I can imagine that being
nice place as well. I would recommend it if people want to just go somewhere nice, and if you're down there, certainly go and watch and take in the atmosphere because it was really good.
Did they play Baker Street?
I can't remember. I don't think so. They were playing all sorts.
What was the Queen song? We Will Rock You.
I feel like it was We Will Rock You. If anyone in the comments, anyone else who was there can remind me. Oh, do you want to know what my highlight was? Apart from the win, I was during the warm-ups. We were behind the Lewes warm-up. They were taking shots, and there was a fella just to the right of me and Shane who was holding his non-alcoholic. Well, I know it's rubbish, isn't it? 0.5%. Give me a break. He's holding it, having a chat to his dad. The ball hit his drink. It went literally all over his head. Plastic coming to the rings. His phone went in aeroplane mode, went flying out of his hand, out of the case. And he was absolutely ruined. It was hilarious.
Do you know what? It's a good job the phone went into airplane mode because by doing that, it would have landed safely.
Yeah. Oh, that from Alec as well. The stewards were brilliant. There was none of this. There was no issue with us chanting or making noise or having flags. It was clearly they just wanted the proper football atmosphere. It was really good.
You also mentioned that it had home and away standing areas. Is that right?
Yeah, so
we got there. Neighbours standing area, or is it just the one Australian soap they go for? Neighbours.
Neighbours was a good show. Really
so
underrated.
Much better than home and away.
We got there and we were some of the first ones in there ish, so it wasn't very full. And we set up camp in the immediate safe standing area. And to be fair, the supporters club from Lewes came over and just said, "Oh, you're welcome to stay. This is normally the home end. We'll have the band, but you can stay." We were like, "Nah, we'll go across there." And I think that helped. But yeah, it's just really nice, just a really good atmosphere. And Lewes fans are some of the better fans I've experienced. I think we're the best, but they were really good. Really got into it. Could see how important it was to them to put on a performance if they weren't going to go on and win. But yeah, really impressed with it all round.
Oh, that's good to hear, and I said it did sound like that when we spoke to Ash and Adrian on Aiden on Friday's show. They said that there's going to be a lot going on. There was a lot of stuff obviously around the ground, the bigger picture as well, with the whole letter about equal pay and all of those equal FA Cup and all of those kinds of things as well. So I think from a wider view of the game, I think it definitely reached that as well. And long may that continue.
Did you see a lot of people smashing burgers into their mouth?
They didn't. I didn't have burgers, but they had really good jerk chicken and that sort of stuff. It was good. It wasn't just your bog standard LSV water injected hot dogs. It was nice food, really good food, and hula hoops. Had hula hoops as well.
Can't beat a hula hoop. Barbecue beef.
Yeah, they had those, but I just went ready salted.
Oh, do me a favour. Just ready salted. You've got flavour and you've gone for that. Oh.
Yes.
Disappointed in you. That's disappointment in the voice there.
What's the point?
And yes, Water Fair Play. We're going to get into that, I'm sure, because I mean, to be fair, I was probably when we did our score predictions, I know Barry had to drop off, but I was the one person actually on the panel saying, and in the comments, saying this was going to be a lot closer than people think. There's a lot of 6-0s and 7-1s and 4-0s in the comments at the time. I can't remember what I said, but it definitely wasn't as high as that. That's for sure. People are disappointed in you, Charlie. It's actually good for once. People are not picking on me. For the food eating habits, it's Charlie today, so that's off to a good start.
I didn't say people can't have beef hula hoops. I'm not starting an agenda.
The mother eating abilities. It's just
I'm not starting an agenda. People can have whatever hula hoops the jolly well
like having an option of pasta. You can have pasta with spaghetti bolognese, all those, and you just go, I just have a bowl of pasta with a bit of salt on. What's the point?
No. The crisp equivalent to that is those crisps that come with the salt separate in a bag. When you open it,
the salt and shake.
Even I know what that is. Yeah, back in the day. Well, they're still around, I think. But
back in the day.
Back in my day, it was like 2010.
I miss it when you used to get pogs in crisps. Remember pogs?
Yes.
Now you're going back before my time. Yeah, I think our back in our day is going to be a little bit different time-wise. Crikey, that's 7 minutes of the show. We've
remember cassettes,
things. No.
Mini disc player.
Mini disc player, yeah, do you remember them?
It was video and CDs when I was growing up.
Videos and CDs, and you don't remember cassettes. They were about, mate, even then. That was what the two other bits were for on the CD hi-fi system.
Yeah, you don't need. See, we're going back. Sang's right back in. It is that's a whole other conversation. But anyway.
In fact, look, you're not going to believe it.
No.
But I actually have them here, Connor. Look at this.
Oh my god!
Would you believe it? Are we going through? That's a cassette.
You need to give that a twist. You need to give that a twist because that's going to get tangled.
Exactly, to get them all back together again, and that's what you'd use those.
Oh yeah, Mike, trying to wait for Sarah Cox or whoever it was to start talking, and be like, pause, so that you didn't get any of the chat.
Hi, Len, I'm with you. I'm 25 as well, and I don't know what they're going on about.
So there you go. I can't believe they were there and available and ready for that. It's almost like that's why I had them there.
This is a show on its own. This we'll come back to this, I'm sure, when we actually do a show that's a bit more kind of. It'll be a Q&A type show where you can ask all of these kinds of things. Similar time we've done the watch-alongs. I don't really know where to start. We'll start with Lisa Narsden, actually, because she had a brief cameo, not by her own fault, because she was actually playing very well up until the point of her injury. Obviously, we hope that she recovers well and the injury is not too bad. And obviously, Maria alongside that as well. And we're going to talk a little bit about her in just a second. But, I mean, Barry, you asked me the question on Friday's preview, would I start Lisa? And I think my answer was probably no, but bring her on. But to be honest, I was quite happy seeing her starting. I've got to be honest. When she, seeing line up there, the 3 Norwegians were in the squad, I was quite happy with that, especially, Zelen, Risa, and Lisa. I thought this is good little midfield that we've got here. I mean, were you surprised that she was starting, and how do you think she got on and kind of her? I can't remember how long it was. 25 minutes, I think it was that she was on the pitch.
I think it had been clear that Marc Skinner was toying with the idea of including Lisa in the match day squad. That seemed quite obvious from the press conferences and things such as that. Thinking back to the game, yeah, I was pleasantly surprised because it's nice, isn't it? It's a new player at the end of the day, and you want to see how that player is going to get on and what they do and how they perform. You know, we've got this new player excitement. It's just a shame that of the 3 signings we made, in January, 2 of them haven't been able to play, obviously, in Jade and Lisa because of injuries and all sorts, and not being available. Whereas, like, Cascarino obviously has managed to play a couple of games because she was more readily available. So you get that new player excitement. And I thought she had a really good 20-odd minutes. You know, she was doing very well. We were in the ascendancy. We were playing well. Everything seemed to be going well. But there was a worry. There was always a worry as to why it was that Lisa wasn't being played. You know, people were getting up in arms about it. You know, oh, Skinner's just bringing these players in and they're not playing them. And it was quite clear that they needed to have, minutes in the leg. And, I think, listen, we know there's been debate, shall we say, going on about this sort of thing. And it's one of those where had Marc brought her on, this is what I think we were trying to say the other day. She needed to come on for smaller periods of time, I think, rather than just being given the full 90 immediately, because you have to load minutes into players' legs. So that was a shame. It was just a shame more than anything else. Just to see her get injured was just a shame. You saw how much it meant to her, how upset she was coming off, wiping tears away, and nobody wants to see that. That's just horrific. And I suppose really all we can do is just hope that it was just a little knock and that she's, not going to be out for a long period of time. But it's the sort of luck we seem to have, We brought in Cena Boone and she got injured and didn't get to play as many games. And I just think it's a real shame that we're getting these players in, and when they get given a chance like that, if they get an injury, then that's it. It sets them back. And that I think is probably going to set her back from being chosen for the team for a while, because then when she's over the injury, she's got to get back to where she was again. And if I'm honest, that could mean that we don't see her properly in the squad for some time, and that's just a shame.
Yeah, I mean, Charlie, same question to yourself, really, because like I said, we don't know how bad this injury is going to be. There's some in the comments, somebody just said a second ago, hopefully it's just a minor thing. There it is. Hopefully more than a tweak than a full tear. Because if it is a tear, that's going to be a while. Whereas if it's just maybe a slight pull of the muscle, maybe a week or so, a couple of weeks, we might see her back in. But I mean, how do you think she fared in kind of those 20? Because her and Risa linked up quite well.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like we'd swapped out any particular player. The team still functioned as the way that we've seen it play well this season. So how did you assess kind of her 25 minutes?
Yeah, I think as the time crept up as she was on, you could see it was hitting that point when she was starting to dictate play a little bit. So she kind of gauged what was going on, and then she was sort of becoming a little bit of the engine room. And I think Sarah put that she plays how she looks, if you know what that means. And I kind of do know what you mean, because she looks really commanding, okay? And that's how it felt when she was on the pitch. She played passes really well. She looked after the ball. Really nice link-up play with Zellum and Bo Risa at times. So it is a real shame. And I think they probably have built her up really carefully. I think lots of us have been chomping at the bit to see her straight away. And I think the one thing the coaching staff and the medical staff do at Man United, and the women we've noticed, they look after them and they do the right things by them to make sure they're as ready as they can be. The only worry for me is I hate it when it's like an innocuous thing. So it was off the ball. There was no challenge or anything. And that's always a little bit of a worry. Because sometimes when it's a contact, it can be a bit of a jar, can't it? Or a bit of a dead leg. And that's what's caused it. And it feels worse than it is. I'm hoping that the tears were just frustration rather than her really worrying that something quite bad had happened. But again, we've got her signed on for 3.5 years. So if we can get her recovered properly, we'll get to see loads of her. But on first looks, a bit like Cascarino for me, again, looked really, really good. And I think you were right, Connor, when you said mixing up the midfield a little bit and having her and Bo Risa in with Zellum instead of the usual three. It didn't look like that was negatively sort of affecting us. We were feeling the game out and they were just getting into the flow of the midfield and sort of starting to take ownership and take over a little bit in the middle of the park. And then that happened, which was a big shame. I also love Hayley Ladd, but I was kind of hoping that Cascarino might pop on, which she didn't. We're almost sport for choice now in the middle of the park, aren't we? Which is a good thing. So I understand people wanting to see all of these different players. But we've got quite a few important games coming up, and I'm sure they'll all play their part, particularly as we've gone further in the cup competition. But yeah, it's a shame. But I think from what I saw, first look, she's going to be important and she's going to be really good.
Yeah, I mean, John Fry's agreeing with you there on the whole Ladd Cascarino discussion there. I think there was a comment I've literally just seen it now. I can't. There it is. From Sporty, can't rush her back in. Yeah, I wouldn't either. We've got a lot of players in that position. It's not worth just throwing her back in. Yeah. You know, for the sake of it. As good as she looks, I'd rather she gets fully, as you said, it's a long contract. She's not going anywhere. So I wouldn't be rushing.
We had a player at Stevenage who I think grade 2 hamstring, and that's it. You know, she's been out for 6 or 7 weeks now, which is a real shame. So I'm not expecting to see her really until at least the end of April, beginning of May, which is just not good, really.
It is such a shame, and it's like you said, Charlie. It's very strange that it was off the ball. That's when, you know, maybe a contact, maybe a future. I can't remember the passage of play. I got to be honest, but maybe there was a tackle on her, or maybe there was a passage of play a couple of minutes prior to that, and it just went at that point. I don't know, but when it's off the ball like that, it always does surprise. Like, is that an ongoing thing they've been monitoring? And I don't. Obviously, we don't know. We're never going to know.
I just feel like they wouldn't. I just feel like you think about how they dealt with Leslie last season when she was injured on the return and she didn't come back for ages and we were desperate, and how careful they were with Millie and Bruin. Even though she was with us, she barely played. They didn't just play her for no reason. They wanted her to be fit. I just feel like they won't. I feel like they won't have put her in the position to play were she not ready. So that's why I think it is something unexpected.
Yeah, I agree with that. And yeah, like I said, it's just a shame. So hopefully she recovers well and we'll see a better Lisa, I'm sure, when she comes back. Just very quickly on this one, while it's in the comments and fresh there that I can see. I mean, there's a team that I'm sure that we all don't want.
What will happen, this is what will happen. We'll get Chelsea at Kings Meadow. That's what will happen. But what I would like to happen is... Because everyone says, I'm always one for, you ought to play them at some point, but actually I just really want to get to a final. Anything can happen in a final. So I'd be quite happy to draw Brighton at home and for Kirsty Hansen to absolutely muller Danielle Carter, beat Chelsea, and then she can't play against them in the final. That's what I'd like.
I know that Big Johnny K, he's been sliding into the old DMs after this lovely game yesterday. And he's all about, he wants Chelsea semi-finals. He reckons now's the time to take them after the last game. You know, they're on the ropes effectively. I'm with Charlie, 100%. I just want to get to a final, get to Wembley, give the girls that opportunity. It's more progress. And that's what we want to see, you know, making an FA Cup final. And that's not to say that we're sitting there going, oh, at least we made a final. That's lovely. You know, we don't want to win it. Of course we want to win it, you know. But you measure your progress year on year. Making a final for the first time would be amazing. You know, it would be a genuinely big achievement. So, yeah, for me, it's Brighton or Villa. It is the team that you would want to get. And no, I don't want Chelsea. I don't want Chelsea anywhere, not even close to near us for the semi-final.
No, I mean, with consensus, I mean, there'll be a great feeling there if you beat Chelsea in the semi, because then you would like to think, well, we would be favourites then for the final. But I'm with you too. I want to get to a final. Let's get to Wembley, and if the semi-finals are at Wembley, it's a little bit different. But the fact that these are going to be at whichever ground it's drawn at, I'm a little bit like, no, let's get to Wembley. Let's have that kind of cup final day out of Wembley. Because it's not something the United fans, certainly on the women's side, have had. Chelsea and Arsenal, City, obviously they've had it quite a few times going to Wembley for these big finals. It would be nice to see a United side there. So 100%, I want Brighton at home. Let's just get to the final.
A home draw. I think we have such an advantage playing at LSV that other clubs don't have with regards to the atmosphere. I think that's important, is a home draw.
It would be nice.
Before
you move on, Connor, I saw you bring this up from Lansell. And it was just, for me, it was quite important because a lot has been made about this lack of pre-season sort of thing. And I just wanted to point out that from my point of view, the thing with a pre-season is that when they play pre-season, they're not going at it blood and thunder. The games they're just meaningless. They're not important. Everybody knows that a pre-season friendly is about getting minutes in the leg. You very rarely see a bad-tempered pre-season match. They don't occur. And I think here, this is where the problem was. It's that when you've got players that you've bought in January, there is no pre-season. So if you're going to try and load minutes into their legs, you've got to try and do it carefully because of the fact that it's going to be blood and thunder. It's going to be everything. You're fighting for titles and trophies and glory. And I think that's where we've struggled a bit in this one. It's like, where do you put these people in that's going to be safe for them? I mean, I agree fully with what Charlie said. I don't think Marc Skinner and co would have put her on if they didn't think that she was capable of carrying through it. It's obviously something that's hidden that nobody knows about. When a hamstring goes, there's nothing you can do about that. So is it a lack of pre-season? I don't know, but you do have to be incredibly careful with these athletes because that's the whole point of it. You don't stick an Olympic runner into the Olympic finals immediately. They have loads of training and bits to do to get up towards it. So it's just
her season finished in October as well, I believe. She hasn't played football since then. So I agree with what you both just said. I don't think they would have put her in if they didn't. They have these fitness tests before games. They have a lot of tests before players go into matches. So it's just unfortunate. The player of the match poll is in the chat, so get voting on that. So you've got your 4 names there. 3 defenders again this week. So we do like our defenders on these polls. So yeah, make sure you get voting on that one. It looks like Honor is way out in front already though, which I kind of had a feeling that she would be on that one. So yeah, get your votes on that. We'll come to that one towards the end. We'll go back to the first goal then. Went down as an own goal. There was some confusion as to whether it was a Russo goal or an own goal. But it was another Honor cross, I believe, if my memory is correct. I've not watched the game since yesterday, so I'm going off my memory from 24 hours ago. Again, it's another Honor. We're going to talk about this is the
11.
It's ridiculous, right? I mean, Charlie, that first goal, what did you kind of make of that? I said that obviously got a little bit lucky with the deflection to go in, but again, it's that right hand side again, and it's another Honor cross that kind of creates the goal. Yeah,
it was a nice forwards pass to break the line from Maya first to Honor, who obviously trademarked. That's my dog. Sorry. We'll see another dog outside. How dare it? Just a trademark from Honor now. I don't know if there's a better crosser of the ball from open play in football. I know that's quite a big statement to make, but if you think about how many assists she gets doing that from right back as well, it's just astronomical. And of course, I know from where it was in front of us, we were stood behind that goal, and it was obviously an own goal, like it was quite clear. But again, it was Russo making that run in front of the defender, which made the defender feel like they had to do something in case Russo got a nick on it. But it felt, once we got that goal, it felt like, this might be quite straightforward actually, because we can get at these. So yeah, it was good. It was nice to get the early goal because I think I don't know if it's more of a fan worry than a player worry, perhaps, that if we don't get an early goal, we always struggle. But I do think it's important to mention that just before that happened, Maria Thor did an absolute what Thor does best and blocked what looked like it was going to be a surefire goal for Lewes just before then, like tracked back, did brilliantly in at the post. And I think if they'd scored at that point, it could have been really uncomfortable for quite a long time. But yeah, brilliant goal, but special mention to Maria, who moments before had saved us from going 1-0 down, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Barry, feel free to talk about Maria as well. Kind of, we'll float into that before we go on to the kind of the other goals. But yeah, the first goal, it came pretty early on. I think was it 8 minutes. I'm pretty sure it was. It was inside the first 10, definitely. Obviously, we got that early goal, which we like as a team because it usually means we go on to win the game if we get that early goal. And Thor's obviously important block just before that as well.
Yeah, no, I think it was really good. A really good goal. You say floating into the Maria thing, a bit like an honour cross. And that's exactly what we're going to do. I think Maria was absolutely brilliant. We slated her a little bit when she was right back, if we're being fair. We said she's not a right back. A right back she does not make. But we did then say a week later when she went in at left back that was a really good assured performance for her. And left back seems to be a position where she plays the Dennis Irwin role almost to perfection, a right-footed left back. And I thought she did superbly well yesterday. She tracked back, she worked hard. By all accounts, she might have picked up a little bit of a knock herself as well, which potentially, Connor, is an argument for your rotation that you keep going on about, and the fact that these little niggles might come about. But yeah, I thought that block was unbelievable because, again, she had so much room, that attacker. And I just thought, here we go. She's going to get a shot away here. We're going to need Mary Earps to be on her mettle. And God bless them all. But Thor gets back and just does what she does, which is to just go, you shall not pass. Another literary reference for you there. We've had the Thor and the Norse gods and all that jazz. But to me, she was Gandalf. You shall not pass. And they did not. So that was brilliant. As far as the goal goes, we run out of words for Honor. Honor is just a fantastic player, and her delivery with the ball is great. I've seen Sarah put up about talking about the argument about Honor taking corners. I wouldn't be against it in the same way that we've seen some people taking some free kicks other than Zenham as well. So, mix it up a bit by all means. It keeps people guessing. But the goal was superb. I also like to say that you put up, was it the High Lane podcast, or wherever they were? It said exactly what I thought, which was I had no idea who touched that ball. That's the one. I thought it got straight in from Honor's cross. The angle that we were looking at it from on the TV was appalling. And I had the sound off because I was at my mum's and we were talking. So I was watching the game in the background and couldn't see it. So then when I saw that Russo had scored, I was really quite excited. I'm like, oh, that's good. And then we found out it was an own goal. So not a clue what happened there. I don't know if Russo got a hit on it and then it went to Cleverly, did it? Charlie, did you?
I don't know. It's down as... I mean, I would class it as an honour assist. It's down as if you look on BBC Sport, it says no one assisted it, which I can't imagine.
If it's an own goal, you can't assist an own goal.
We didn't. I don't think that it came off Russo at all. I don't think she made any contact.
So there we go.
Like I said, we were right above it. But like I said, Russo went to play the ball, and that's what I think the defender was probably anticipating. She was going to play it across the front of goal, and therefore the defender stuck her leg out, and it bobbled past their keeper, who was very annoying. Their keeper reminded me of Sophie Bagley when she played for Bristol and how annoying she was. And now I love Baggers because she plays for us. But oh my goodness, that goalkeeper was annoying. Did you also notice how many times she kicked it out for a throw-in? Loads, which we enjoyed. That went down a treat.
I can imagine. Behind the goal as well. Bet they loved you.
Sophie Whitehouse. But you know what? She was doing the right stuff. She was just trying to annoy the crowd and slow things down, which you can't blame her.
Absolutely.
100%. And I agree with all the comments, mate. Just on your little Gandalf reference, funny enough, that is what me and Alina now call Phil O'Connor. So next time he's on the channel, that is his little nickname. That's what we decided to call him. So it's maybe it's a Norwegian-y thing. But
so if Phil's Gandalf, does that make you Frodo?
I'm not going to reveal our little things on there. I'll just expose Phil and not on top of
I don't want you to be Frodo, because if you're Frodo, that's going to make me Samwise Gamgee. I've got to help you, Master Frodo. I'll be there for you, Master Frodo.
That was pretty good, actually. And I agree with that as well. I think it was Sandy that's sometimes in the comments as well that said this on Twitter, talking about Honor on corners. I'm not against it either, to be honest, because she has got a good cross on it. So I'm not against putting her on corners. But obviously Leah's been on them occasionally, so yeah, it's not too bad to mix it up a little bit, as you said, keep the opponents guessing. What's this say? I also had a good view of the book. Oh, the one that Charlie was on about at the start. I don't think Charlie's realised what's going on here.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the fella. It was dead funny.
So I wish somebody.
Only 5 yards to his left, though. It could have been him.
That was close. Then you were in the firing line for that beer, that crap beer.
Could have gone anywhere. There we are. We'll move on to the second goal then. Obviously, quite a few subs after half time. Tooney came on for Garcia, I believe. Mannion came on, and Parris came on for. Obviously, Maria went off injured. That didn't look great. I think she had the boot on at full time. So again, that doesn't look ideal. So hopefully she recovers well from that one. Obviously, Parris came on for Thomas, but a couple of minutes later, it's another honour delivery. And it's, I've got to be honest, it's one of the best headed goals I've seen a score, because it's not like a looping header. It's not like a slow one that trickles into the corner. The power that Risa got on that header was fantastic. And to me, just topped off a good performance from her as well. I mean, Charlie, what do you make of that second goal?
Really good. I think the Tooney honour link up is underrated, because I think that was Tooney's ball between the centre back and the full back into the space for Honour to run onto. But yeah, brilliant header. What was it? 7 or 8 yards out. A lot of power. It was really a really good header. I don't think only really Russo tends to score those for us. So it was nice to see Vilde getting stuck in. I think it was a good performance from Vilde as well. Again, a really passionate celebration, which I like to see. It clearly meant quite a lot to her. But yeah, found the space really well in the box, and then just yet another pinpoint cross from Honour. Absolutely brilliant.
I mean, Barry, I think Vilde is now our 5th top scorer, and she's only had 100 minutes in the WSL, so that shows how many she's scored. Well, it's all been cup competition goals. But again, what do you make of her kind of performance and that goal? So we can talk about Honour again, but like you said, we're running out of words to describe how good she is. But again, another Risa goal, proving that again she's making the difference when she is playing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Vilde Risa. Where do we go with this one? Let's go with. We've been calling for Vilde to start for a few weeks now, saying that she has 100% played herself into contention for starting the game. And I thought she was really good, like really good. She played in the manner that you would expect her to, with fire, with passion. And I saw a lot of what I think is frustration in that celebration, if I'm honest with you, because the ball comes in from Honour. It's a bullet header. Now, you've got to question the Lewes defending on this one, because there was no one near her. She literally steps away from her marker and just sort of stands there waiting while the Lewes defence are busying themselves worrying about something else. And she just largely goes unnoticed. So, it was an easy header for her. She just literally had to get the power on it, and she did that brilliantly. Her reaction, I think, was quite interesting. It's a really interesting one, this Vilde Risa situation now, because she's now played 3, 4, 5 cup games and come on and done well and played well and done the right things. Everybody on this planet knows that I am 100% Marc Skinner in. You can't move me from that situation. But I do think somebody needs to have a word in his ear. So we all know Marc Skinner watches it. So if you'll just forgive me for a minute, I'm just going to have a little chat with Marc. Marc, you can't keep having a go at Vilde all the time, mate. I don't think you can do that. I think you've got to take a moment and just sort of think about what your public words are compared to what your private words are. If you want to keep telling her that she needs to do more, that's up to you. But I think every time he's having these comments about this is what we're seeing from her, but we need to see more, but we need to see more, but, you don't need that. every single time. It doesn't seem to happen with any other player. And I think that's really frustrating. You know, we could have had plenty of buts here. You know, Alessia Russo nearly scored a goal, but she hasn't really done anything in open play apart from that hat-trick for a month and a half. You know, we've got lots of players that can play on the right wing, but none of them have actually nailed that place down for their own. You know, Ella Toon had a fantastic time with the Lionesses and has been a superb player and servant for Manchester United Football Club, but she's not been on the boil lately. You know, there's buts for everyone. Mary Earps is one of the most fantastic goalkeepers in the world, but she made an absolute howler for the 2-1, which I'm sure we're going to get to. There's buts everywhere. I don't really want to finish that sentence, but there's buts everywhere you look. You know, it doesn't really matter where you go with that. There's going to be lots of buts. And I think that's what's really frustrating for me, is that actually what that requires now is for someone to just say, do you know what, Vilde, you've done really well. Yeah. Keep working hard like this and you're going to be knocking on the door. That's what you need to be saying. I'm a little bit annoyed with that. I don't think that's needed. Now, what I will say, I'm not saying thank you, Barry. I'm not saying this is a repeat performance thing that happens across the board. I'm just saying with this player, with this moment in time, I don't think we need to hear any more of that in public but she needs to do this. Yeah. She came in, she did the job she was supposed to do. She got us a goal, turned out to be a very important goal. It's not always necessary. And I think in this occasion, Marc Skinner's getting it slightly wrong. However, that has not changed my opinion of Marc Skinner in the slightest. He is still a great manager, 100% deserves his opportunity to be doing what he's doing. But I do think he has to temper his language a little bit when he's talking about these things. There's some things that we as fans don't need to know. I don't think you get that from Erik ten Hag.
Is that the thing, Charlie, with this one in particular? We may as well move on to this because the exact quote that came out, I'll just read some of it because I'm not going to read all of it. Saying about she talks, see the aggression she puts onto the header. Vilde's a great footballer and the fans of Vilde. We love Vilde. She's certainly the type of player, but this league needs a certain type of player, and we're asking to bring that out because I think once we provoke it, it's there. Is that the thing that this is being done in public? Because I think privately, if you say that to a player, you know they want to get better. You know, I don't think there's anything too wrong with that. Is the issue here that it's always Vilde and it's always in the post-match interview? Because I think somebody said before it's only Vilde that's getting it, and other players make mistakes in games, but nobody else seems to get a mention here.
Yeah, it is. I think that's what makes it so jarring. Not that it would be okay if he went all Mourinho and just started laying into everyone in the post-match press conference, but I think it whenever she seems to come on and play in a cup game or starts a cup game, she scores. So Durham, she scored a brilliant goal. Was it Sheffield United, Everton? She scored 2 goals. She scored in the last round of the FA Cup. She scored this time. So it just feels a little bit jarring. And I think Barry, I know you primary school teacher, haven't you? And they talk about if you could say something nice, but if you always end it with a but, and this is the negative, that's all people are going to remember. And when you're listening to it as a fan, and the Vilde's being talked about, you think, oh, yeah, she was brilliant today. She scored a really good goal. Thank goodness she scored that second goal. And then all you then hear is the but she should have done this, that, and the other. And there have been times in previous games, particularly last season as well, where players made monumental errors that we talked about. So we talk about the cup game against City where we were 1-0 up and Hannah Blundell had an absolute mare. The Mary Thor mix-up at Everton last season, which led to the draw. Players in those instances weren't called out publicly. And I think Barry's right. That's what's so jarring for people. It doesn't make sense because it's just a very specific player. And I think there's lots of our players at the moment that you could say aren't showing enough aggression, that are being a little bit lightweight. And probably Vilde isn't the one that's most guilty of that at the moment, I don't think. I think she's been quite a bright spark the last few weeks, and that's what makes it difficult for people. Now, she's coming out and performing really well. So he might be thinking, oh, this is working, but it just doesn't sit right because it does just seem to be focused on her. And I think that's what's upsetting people. And I can completely see why that is. And I'm not a big fan of it either.
That's the thing, isn't it? Because, like, from Marc's point of view, he might be saying, like you just said there, you know, it's working. She's playing well when she's coming on. I just don't think it needs to be said in public, personally. I think, and this is my one, you know, I'm not a world-class coach and got all these degrees and everything else that, you know, these top-level managers have got. However, I do think there's an element of, I think he says too much sometimes in these things that just don't, in fact, we don't need to hear that. just say, just give a media answer for all I care. Just say, yeah, it was a great performance, they played well, and move on, because I don't pay too much attention to what people say in interviews anyway, because it usually is that. And I feel like sometimes he's trying to think of what the fans will want to hear, but then I don't quite know. Sometimes to me, it just seems, because like I said, he started that quote, and when you watch it, he starts it and it end it there. End it at, I know the fans love Vilde, we love Vilde, she's a great player. Just leave it there. That next bit, tell her in training. If you think she needs to improve on this bit, say it privately. I've got no issue with that. And it's not a negative thing to give criticism behind the scenes and things like that, obviously, if it's given across in a respectful manner. But I just don't think in the media, after you've just won and got to the semi-final of a game, to me, it's just unnecessary to
I also think my slight worry about it is because obviously it's been picked up, it's gaining traction, isn't it? Within fan base and within sort of women's football journalists, is I think increasingly he will probably be asked questions about her now. Because it's a story. His response is a story now. There is a narrative that can be created. So that's why.
But it's created, and it's created because it's every game. Like I say, every game she's played now, she's scored in those games, and rather than just getting, that's a great performance from Vilde, that's the sort of thing that we need to see going forward. She's really knocking on the door now for a starting position. That's what you say. That's your media answer. Yeah, she's knocking on the door for contention now. She's really starting to put into place the things that we're talking about in training. That's the answer. That's what you should be saying, because that makes everyone think, yeah, you're right. Actually, Vilde is starting to do some of the stuff you want. You don't have to overshare. When you look at what he's actually said, he says, see the aggression she puts on that header. I want to see that aggression in every part of her play all the time. She has really wonderful flashes. Vilde is a great footballer. I know the fans love Vilde. We love Vilde. She's a really great player, but this league needs a certain type of player. And we're just asking her to keep bringing that out, because I think once we provoke it, it's there. There were some really great parts of her game still. And then talk about those. We as fans don't need to know that. There's so much you don't tell us as a whole. You don't need to tell us there. I don't think it's that important. I will back Marc Skinner in picking the team that he wants to pick. And I know here it comes again, Parris, Katie Zellam's rescue. I know it's happening, but I entirely disagree with this, because he has his favourites, and even if they don't play well, he doesn't drop them, i.e. Zellam. And I think we are in danger as a fan base of saying, I don't like Marc Skinner because he doesn't play the players that I want him to play. And that's an irrelevance. At the end of the day, what matters is the results they're getting with the players he is choosing. If he's choosing players and they're not performing well, then to me, that's when you can start having a go at him. When he's picking players, whether they think he's his favourites or not, and they're performing well, i.e. they're second in the league and they're in the FA Cup semi-final, then I feel like there's got to be an element of, like, I think I heard a few people saying we'd rather have seen Cascarino come on than Ladd. And again, that's the wording I would have liked to have seen, not, I think he should have, because we still got the result. It still happened. But I do just worry. I just worry that this, again, it's one person. And I feel a bit for Vilde. We talk a lot about mental health in general. She's had the Norwegian manager, whose name is going to get, is it Aga something? I've got a bit
Risa.
Thank you. I was close. I'm getting better at this outside of England football, Jazz. But we talk a lot about mental health. She's having a go, saying you might have to leave Manchester United, her team that she loves and enjoys playing for and supports, to go and get international football while still picking her to play international football. And then you've got our manager saying these are the things that you need to do, and then playing her. She's doing well, she's scoring goals, she's contributing, yet she's still not. And we've all been in that position. You said about being in a job of a primary school teacher. If you get observed at any point as a teacher and they sit there, they can list 100 things in your lesson that you've done really well. But that one thing, and there's always going to be one thing, because nobody ever walks in and goes, that was perfect, brilliant, you are the finished article, well done. They come in, maybe for you, Charlie, maybe you brushed your hair on that day and everybody's just like, wow. I don't know. But for me, there's always one thing. There's always going to be one thing, even if it's something silly, like, oh, your desk is a bit messy, or, something's falling off of that display. There's always, and that's the thing you think of. And you were right with what you said. The minute you start saying it's that thing, it makes it difficult. So I I think in public we've just got to be careful. What you're saying privately should stay private. I think. I don't think you always need to share this sort of stuff with the fans.
Can I just two
No.
well, one really quick thing and another thing that I've just wanted to say for a while. One thing is, what I am glad is that it's Vilde is coming out fighting. That can only be good for us. So I think that shows a really good mentality from her. The fact that she's coming out fighting and she's putting a performance. What also worries me is that people seem to want to pile in on other players. So because this is happening to one player, as a fan base, some people want to pile in on another player. Now, I know I'm a Katie Zellum fan. I'm quite open about that. And I've spoken really recently to people who think she shouldn't be playing and someone else shouldn't. It's really nice to have that conversation. But I think some people are attacking her. I'm not talking about people necessarily in the comments, so people don't take offence. But I think people are also focusing on Katie Zellum and going for her because Marc Skinner's not picking Vilde. And that's not Katie Zellum's fault. She's playing for Manchester United. And I think if she was our only issue, if she was the only issue we had in our starting 11, we should be walking everything. We should be walking everything. And I just feel like she's become almost the poster girl for, it's her fault. It's her fault that this person's not playing. And it's not her fault she's being picked. It's like what happened with Maguire. Everything's his fault. It's his fault he's being picked. No, it isn't. He's there to play football and he's been selected by the coaching staff and the manager. So he's playing football to the best of his ability. It's the same here in some areas. And I just feel like regardless of in the end who is selected, the 11 players on that pitch aren't being selected to put people out or to make people uncomfortable or to make people cross. They're being selected by the coaching staff and they're going to work really hard. So I just hope that people don't jump on other players because they're cross at other players maybe not getting the opportunities they deserve. Because Vilde deserves opportunities, but it's not Katie's fault. It's not Hayley's fault. It's not Tooney's fault that's not happening because they don't make that decision. And that's the only thing I would say, really.
I completely agree. It's like, but again, same thing here. The majority of fans can't be. Well, where have we got this from? Where was the poll? I missed that. If I'd have gone and voted, if I'd have known. I don't know. You say sometimes she needs something. She's the captain. And I don't know. I might have got this entirely wrong. But if you take a look at captains, how often do they get subbed? Like, genuinely. Not that often. You know, other players get there first. The reason you're chosen as a captain, it's your leadership. It's the fact that you've got longevity. You're usually there. You know, it's rare. Does happen. I've seen it. You know, I've seen Kane come off. I've seen Fernandez come off. All those sorts of things. But what Charlie just said is absolutely spot on. It's not Katie Zellum's fault. And Katie Zellum gets picked on because of the things that people don't see. Like you said yourself, Connor, the other week when we were doing the Chelsea team pick, you know, the combined 11. And then that stat came out about how many balls she's won, you know, interceptions and tackles and all that sort of things, how many times she's won back possession, which is more than any other player in the league. And that's just like, we don't see these stats. You know, it's like we are Man United fans and we should just be supporting these girls. And I just can't quite understand how we're hitting this point. And yes, all right, she's never subbed. And what? She's never subbed and we're second in the league and we're making it into the FA Cup semi-final.
I think the annoyance,
in my opinion.
Just off the back of that, I think this is where the annoyance I think come from. So there's a lot of players we could talk about. The general player which is far worse than Vilde's. I don't get it, and that wasn't actually the comment I was trying to find. It was from Kaz that I was trying to bring up.
That's a good comment from Kaz, though. That is a good comment from her. It's not just one player. There are other players that.
I think that's my issue with this. The players that you mentioned in midfield, because we're talking about Risa, that have been poor. And I think that's where I get a little bit annoyed. I'm like, but when players have played bad, he doesn't say anything about certain players. And, well, not everyone else. And I think that's where the annoyance of fans comes from. Because it's like, if he's going to do that in the media and criticise, people are not going to like it because it's very Mourinho-esque, throwing your players out in public. But it does seem to be, it's one or two. That, you know, last season there was, you know, one or two players that always in the media, but never anyone else. And I think that's where it comes a little bit frustrating because it's like, just do it behind the scenes. You know, if you've got an issue with a player, deal with it privately. I don't think
you can see why people watching are going, well, why? You can see why people are watching it and saying, well, why is he saying that about her when she hasn't been passing brilliantly? She's meant to score and she's not scoring, and she's meant to be creative and she's not creative. Absolutely, I completely agree. 1 gajillion%, which isn't really possible. It's 100% you can agree, and that's what I agree. But it just comes back to it's just be careful that we're not. What's it called? Is it what's the word, Barry? Vilifying one player because of
Connor, did you just get that?
Villainising. I made up a new
Vilifying.
word.
Connor got it right.
Yeah, let's try not to vilify one
So
player
true.
because of what's happening to another. And let's just all talk about the fact that Rachel Williams should start every game. There she is.
Have you got the badge on, have you?
Guys, you can get the badges
Very
through
nice.
Women's Supporters Club. They're beautiful.
How much?
It's £4. Now, before you could get 3 for £10, but I don't want to say that's a current offer. So terms and conditions do apply. It might just be £4 each.
Do they have to be 3 Rachel Williams badges, or are others available?
Oh, there's others available. There's all sorts
You mean
available.
we could get other players? Like we could get our favourite. We could make our own Trinity statue of badges.
You can get a Vilde badge.
Oh my goodness!
And wear it in silent protest.
So you could get like a. You can make like a Mount Rushmore.
I got a Vilde badge. I got Tooney. I got Russo. I got Zelly.
Nice. Imagine that's what we should do. Get the badges so that we can make our own in Evans.
Look, TJ, it is £4, but it's proper. That's not going to rust. That's not rusting.
Whoa, what's wrong with that? Well, Tiger.
And do you know how I know these are really good, TJ? Because I had one, and once I left it on my jumper in the wash, and it came out still attached. The back, everything. All
Quality.
Still fine.
Quality badges for £4.
Just very quick, there's a couple of comments I just want to highlight. Mike, it's all about opinion. 100%. That's why we bring it up, because we're not going to shy away from any topic that comes up around Man United. We might not agree, but and same with the comments. I want to hear what everyone's got to say on that one. I agree with what Kaz is saying, and it's kind of where we're going with this. What he's saying, I'm assuming you're on about Skinner's comments, not our YouTube comments, and I think that is leading to it a little bit. The fact that it is just Risa, it's leading to fans go, oh, but what? And it's not. You've got to look at us as fans as well, because we shouldn't be doing it. But at the same time, as we've all said, Skinner has to look at himself a little bit on this one and say, why is it just her he's doing it for? We're not going to know that. And as Charlie said earlier, journalists know this is a story now. They're going to be asking him that all of the time because they know it's going to get a reaction. They know that their interactions are going to go up on Twitter and everything else.
And just to prove that I'm not entirely unreasonable when it comes to Katie Zellum, this could well be true. She might be getting fatigue.
This could well be true.
It could well be. Fatigue could be creeping in for her. It could be happening. And in that case, if you do get to a point where you're tired, yes, maybe you do bring in other people. But do you do that at the business end of a season? I'm not so sure.
Can you get Sarah's comment up? She
makes lots of fun.
The short answer to that is yes. And then can you get Mike Lyle's comment up? That's really rude. And there won't be, because I'm getting 2 more this weekend.
I mean, in fairness, Charlie, he's not wrong, is he? But that's because the Rachel Williams badge has only just been created.
It's only just dropped.
It's hot off the press, so therefore it's a full stop.
Fresh off the press.
Exactly that. So it's only just begun getting sold. You can't compare that to a Toon one. She's been around for like 5 years.
Is that what you were laughing at, Charlie, when I started my little thing there? Is Charlie looking for a new career in sales? Is that what?
She'd get better hours.
I'm like an onion.
You've got layers.
And now, Connor, that's what we call a saying or figure of speech. Or a simile.
It's a quote.
It's not actually
film, Connor.
Not actually an onion.
Do you know the film, Connor?
Oh, I know that film that you're on about. It's one of the best films ever made.
What is it?
Shrek, isn't it?
Something weird is happening on this show today, Connor, because we managed to finish one of Charlie's sentences with the Van Gilligan, and we've quoted a film that you knew, and you've just called it one of the greatest films of all time. And I agree with you. What have you eaten today?
Look at Sporty McSportface. That's
Sandy got
away for that one.
Well, that's Charlie, did it? Were you wearing it at the weekend?
I just got it the weekend and I was wearing it. It was my only one because it was in the car.
It wasn't the badge that put her on her backside, though. It was the 3/4 of a pint of the non-alcoholic beer.
That was really disappointing, actually.
I
didn't even drive.
Yes, Kaz, you got all this to look forward to very soon, that's for sure.
Oh, that's
100%.
disgusting. She was
Whoa,
born in the year
who's
2000.
anybody?
What was that?
She was born in the year 2000.
Being a 2000, but I mean,
That's
2000.
disgusting.
You talk about that. Pulp brought out a song saying, let's all meet up in the year, was it 2000 or 3000?
Not much has changed, but they live
Yeah, I
under
know.
water.
Yeah, that's
Someone's
busted.
covered that. Someone's covered that. That's how old we are.
I know. It's
Not
I'm
busted
sure it's
anymore.
2000. Pulp, Disco 2000. Let's meet up in the year.
No, never heard of her.
2000.
Never heard of her.
You've never heard of Pulp?
Never heard of her.
But it's not a woman. It's Travis Cocker.
Oh, I know. He sometimes comments on our show.
He does on the bench. You're right. Fact. Yeah, him.
It's making me feel old. That comment just remind when you're talking about being a 2000. I had to set up a staff member today born in 2006. Like that made me feel old. I'm like, oh my life. We've now got.
What year were you born?
Me, 98.
98.
Get lost.
Oh, yeah.
Alex is asking the important questions. Just go on source for all of
You know what? We missed her because she didn't play. Garcia had to play on the opposite wing, and that impacted us as well.
Someone did make a comment earlier on about putting Garcia back on the right.
Yes.
But to be fair, I would rather Garcia on the left than Thomas on the left. So I've got to be honest. Even though Thomas did go to the left, didn't she, when Parris? When Tooney came on, didn't she? So, but there we are. Can't just get into it now. Look, I'm getting a
Absolutely. You should come on with a song, Kaz, and it can be karaoke. When I do it, it's karaoke, and when Charlie does it, I just take my hearing aids out.
That's not very kind.
Do you know what? I'm always kind to you, Charlie. I'm not having that.
Well, that wasn't kind, unless it was a joke.
Well, stop singing. What can I say? Oh
my God, there's a lot of them tonight.
Unbelievable. Now this is an absolute. Oh no, not that one. Sorry, John. Yeah, it's lovely, but that wasn't what I was after. This was fact. 80s was the best time to be born. What a decade.
Can't comment.
No, because you weren't.
Connor, did you ever enjoy as a child
a
push pop?
Oh yes, they were lovely.
Just casually googling what they're
googling it.
I am. What
it's
on
a bit
earth
like
is
lipstick, only pushed it up the top and out it came. A bit like a Calippo, but
yeah. Do you know what I've realised as well? That means you probably never experienced playing Dizzy the Egg on floppy disk, or Soccer Kid, or Pong.
I don't think he even knows what a 3.5-inch floppy disk was. He thinks I'm being rude.
Everyone, we will get back to the game in a minute, but you know, on your phone, you know the icon that represents phone call. This is where I forget that we're doing something live. You know the icon on your phone that represents a phone call, your contacts.
Yeah.
One of the kids at school a few years ago said to me, so that, you can't see it, that phone said, "Miss, why is it that? Why does that represent why does that represent calls?" And I said, "Because it's a phone." And they're like, "No, it isn't."
They can't believe that phones had cords.
And imagine there's a murderer in your house and you're having to go 9.
Yeah. Why did they pick the longest number?
Ridiculous.
9.
I got to be honest. We will get back to the game as Charlie said, but very quickly on that, like talking about different generations. At my mum's wedding, we had disposable cameras because we wanted the photos to look kind of authentic. Literally, kids and like people my age forgot how to use them, like using them like that. How do you take a picture with this, like holding like you would a phone? And because nobody could remember how to do it.
That was the beauty of disposable cameras. You took the pictures, you took it into Boots, and you never knew what was going to happen. You didn't know what was coming back.
I'm telling you,
it was exciting.
Sarah, I might completely disagree with her burger eating habits, which she can share with you. But so far, Ringpot, absolutely brilliant, and Paperboy, what a game this was! Just to give you an idea, it's none of this Grand Theft Auto or the stupid game with a car now. What is it, roller football, whatever you're playing,
Yeah.
when you got your car.
Oh, Rocket League, I play.
Yeah, all that rubbish. No. Somebody went, I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's make a game. It'll be a little boy on a bike. It just goes in one straight line. You don't turn left, you don't turn right. All you've got to do is hit the button at the right time to make the paper land in the right spot on the garden.
Yeah.
We do that for every house until they get to a certain point, and then that'll be able to get points. And we all went, brilliant game.
And Alex the Kid. There was Alex the Kid. Alex the Kid on Sega Master System. James Pond. He was a frog wearing a dicky bow.
I had a Commodore 64, Charlie, and one of the games that I had from that was Prospector Pete. And he just dug into the ground. Like, honestly, the games were pants. My first football game was stickmen like this, just wandering across, kicking the ball. It was, honestly, you don't know you're born. Now you've got actual players that occasionally glitch. And you're all like, oh, my goodness. Mine didn't even have a face.
Deary me.
Nothing.
If anyone's new to the channel, by the way, I've seen a few new names in the chat tonight. It doesn't always go this far off piste.
Yes, it does.
Not this far, maybe. It literally has, Mike. It's turned into an episode of Games Master, that is for sure. Oh, God. It's Barry noticed something else.
Another great game. For this one on the Nintendo, you actually had the gun and you had to point it at the screen, and somehow the screen knew whereabouts you were pointing the gun.
And it probably was a telly where you had to go right up to it and press a button or turn a dial to change the... That's mad, isn't it?
One of the kids today actually asked me, we were trying to get them to make Pong using Scratch. And trying to get them to make that awesome game. And it says at one point about the paddle, and he's gone, what's a paddle? And I had to explain to him how, like on an Atari, the paddle was like the little knob that you had to turn to make the thing that hits the ball go left and right. And he's just looking at me as if I was speaking to him in a completely different language. He couldn't believe it when I told him there used to be such a thing as a joystick, and you just press one button, and that was it. Like Street Fighter, you could be that and two buttons. It's like none of this up, down, left, right, R1, L1, hit the middle button, and then do 3 12s before you sit down, put your hand on your head, and then start. None of that. It was literally just up, A, B, A, B. Unreal.
Dear me. We've gone from... I was going to get to the goal, actually. We've gone from Vilde Risa to games consoles to games and to sweets and to all kinds of things. Let's talk about the Lewes goal. And the one thing I wanted to mention on this was the fact that it was passing out from the back again. If you have a look at most of the goals we've conceded this season, it's come from passing out from the back and mistakes very similar to that. Don't get me wrong, great finish. But Charlie, you've got your hand up and you wanted to say something on this. What
so two things. One is I don't mind playing out from the back, but it's almost like you can predict how we're going to play it out from the back. So it's always rolled to Katie's Ellum, who has 2 players on her, because that's what teams do now. And then she has to pass it back to Millie Turner, who will inevitably have a minor panic and pass it back to Mary. I feel like I'm at fault for this because I I'm going to be in the program, guys, at the OT game. And I said Mary Oates had been our player of the season. And I said it's unheard of that a defender hasn't made a single mistake that's led to a goal at this point in the season, probably. And then boom, absolute boom, it happened this weekend. It was just really poor, isn't it? It wasn't just from her. It started with her passing it out to a player that had 2 players on her, which is always a mistake. And then no one wanted to get rid of it. And again, there's playing out from the back and then there's going to a ridiculous degree. And when you're being pressured like that, you just need to get rid sometimes, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Barry, obviously a lot of the comment, it's a very similar type of mistake in terms of it. As Charlie said, it goes to Zellum. Zellum usually goes back to one of the centre halves, and that's when, the full press happens and we're getting kind of overrun and another goal conceded. What did you make on that goal? Because I say it's a great finish, but realistically, that shouldn't be getting to that point.
I'm not overly fussed about the high press or passing out from the back. It doesn't bother me slightly. Right, we're atrocious under the high press. I mean, we've not conceded that many goals, so I feel like maybe we're going a bit overreactive on that one. But what I will say is 100% that one you have to put on Mary. We've not put any blame on Mary at all, pretty much, really, all season. She's made very few mistakes. She's been an absolute beacon. I mean, she's the best goalkeeper in Europe, for goodness sake. Fact, it's been given. It's
the world.
Got the trophy to prove it. Is it in the world?
It was the world award.
Yes, it's FIFA, isn't it? So I suppose it would be. Yeah, that is FIFA World Cup. Yeah, it's not UEFA. Good point, Connor. Well done. Honestly, you are really on fire today. You absolutely deserve your burger. You can eat it with a knife and a fork today if you want. You've really earned that today, I feel. So congratulations. I might buy a burger and eat it with a knife and fork just in solidarity for you, because that's you've earned it today. You've really well done. I'm proud of you. But yeah, it was Mary's fault. There's no doubt about that. And you could say, you could almost sort of go that the aggression that you saw in Vilde's header, I'd like to see that in Mary clearing the ball. Because that's what she should have done. She should have, as soon as that ball came to her and somebody started to come at her, it should have been foot through the ball. Doesn't matter where it goes. You clear your lines. And she didn't. She sort of took a touch, bit of a dodgy kick, and then she was off her line. But let's be clear, it's the only mistake she's made. And this is, again, I mean, we like a bit of Alec. Alec's a great lad. But again, why is this Skinner's fault? Our goals are not good enough to play. We've got the best defensive record in the league, pretty much. And again, we're looking for a stick to beat someone with. Why can't it just be that Mary Earps made a mistake and it led to a goal? Why do we have to find somebody at fault? The person at fault was Mary Earps. Marc Skinner didn't tell her to kick the ball to another player who's not on our team. It's like, I despair when we make those sorts of decisions. If I'm honest with you,
I think it's a double-edged thing, isn't it? Because as you said, we do make. I've got to be honest, we do make a lot of mistakes from it. The Leicester goal came from that, and a couple of goals at the start of the season. To flip that, like TJ said, you could argue playing out from the back is what set up the Parris goal. In the third one, it was playing out from the back that Myers' ball over the top then led to. So it's a double-edged thing. I don't think we're great at it. There's certainly room for improvement there. I think particularly to single people. I don't think Mary's distribution is great, and I don't think Millie Turner's is great, but it's not atrocious. It's not like we're conceding loads from it, but we are conceding more than maybe other clubs are from it.
What's interesting? I think it was the same for the Leicester goal as it was for this one. It's what's triggering the opposition press, because normally what would trigger it, I think, is a centre back who's not as good at playing the ball out. Often, I think, triggers the press. Whereas what's happening with us at the moment is midfielders, and that's what Lewes did. They doubled up on Katie because they knew what was going to happen. The ball was going to be rolled out to her, and as soon as that happened, two players ran in on Katie, and then players ran to close down Maya, because obviously Maya is our ball playing centre back. And that then meant that Katie had to pass the ball back to Millie, who is a little bit shaky, seems a little bit nervous with the ball at her feet at the moment and isn't always quite sure what to do. So it's quite a clever way that they're doing it, is that the press is triggered as soon as it hits Katie, and then the opposition are stopping the ball from going back to Maya, which is probably the right way to do it, because she's the one who can release it really well. So it was a good press manoeuvre from them as well. We just didn't deal with it efficiently enough.
And let's be clear, the high press, the purpose of a high press is to get the defenders to have no time on the ball in the hope that they're going to make an error. You're basically trying to force the error. That's the whole point of pressing high. And lots of teams will try and do that. The thing you've got to remember, though, is that equally, the other thing they're trying to do by doing that is they want you to go long. They want you to just boot the ball up there, because their chances of winning the ball in their own area, in their own half, are high. So as a result, they're likely to gain back possession and have the opportunity to attack again. So it's not about not doing the high press. You have to practice more at being able to get around that and be more adept. But you do have to understand that if you play out from the back against a team that's pressing high, that there is the opportunity to make a mistake. And Mary did that. Against Chelsea, it was Millie. And I don't mean the away game to Chelsea. I'm talking about the home game that we lost. It was Millie who was struggling with the distribution on that occasion, and she was the one who gave it away. So it happens, and that's going to happen because that's football. The whole purpose of playing football is to stop other teams from doing well and to get them to make mistakes. I just think you've just got to be careful, and it's knowing when and where to do it. And I think Sarah was spot on with that. She said that it's when and where you choose to kick it long, and when and where you choose to play it nicely. And it is. And Mike's just said it there. High risk, high reward. And he's spot on. It's exactly what it is. The best teams in the world are capable of navigating their way through a high press, but even they will still make mistakes occasionally. And that's exactly what happened this time.
No, I'd agree with that. I mean, John Fry, thank you for your comments, and I hope wherever you're going, you're away till next week, you're saying. I hope you have a good time if you are going away somewhere. If not, I hope you have a good time wherever it is anyway, and we'll see you again next week, I'm sure. What was I going to go for? There was a comment a little bit. I know I've already brought it up, but it was that one from Kaz earlier saying, if that, Mary's first mistake, that's pretty good considering where we are now in the season. And every single player is going to make a mistake at some point in a game during this season.
Exactly.
And like I said, the fact that that's the first time we've really criticised Mary all season, I'm pretty sure we can allow that. And it's not like it cost us the game. So it's all good. Yeah, and I agree with what the comments say and talk about, like you just said, Barry. I think Sarah said it in the comments first. There's a time and a place. Sometimes you need to whack it long, which is what they want you to do, but it's better than doing what we did. But, as we said, we'll kind of dive into the third goal before we get to player of the match and wrap this one up. That's what it came from. It was a Maya ball. We kind of playing out from the back a little bit, Maya over the top. And Parris, to be fair, I don't know where, Charlie, from where you were and watching that, I really thought Parris was going to pass this because Williams is right there in the 6-yard box. And if she had missed, I would have been very much, why isn't she passing that? Because Williams in a much better position. But another Parris goal, continuing her record, scored in every round so far.
Yeah, our perspective we had was a bit like the perspective we had for the Garcia goal against West Ham, second game of the season, I think it was, where it looked like she'd gone too wide with it. So she'd maybe gone too wide and then it was too narrow an angle for her to sweep it in, but she did really well. So obviously beat the offside trap. That was a good thing about Parris. That was something that changed when she came on, that we were playing. She was making those runs and playing off the shoulder a little bit when she came more central of the centre backs. And we know she's got a yard of pace, and that she'd had an opportunity, I think, moments before, and that she should have taken really and missed, and I think got a little bit of stick from the home fans for it. But she took this one really well, opened up her body really well. And I think right foot, took it on her right foot, didn't she? And just swept it across the keeper. But yeah, really well taken goal. And it was nice. I think earlier in the season, we saw quite a lot of really good through balls like that from Maya. And we maybe hadn't seen them so much recently. So it was nice to see her making those passes again. And what helped is we made it early, played the ball really early. And there were times in the game when that ball probably could have been played had we played it early, but we just weren't doing it. So it was nice to see them play the ball quicker. And when Man United women play the ball quickly, it's really hard for anybody to react and keep up. So yeah, really good goal. Really pleased for her. Shushed the crowd, which I always like. Bit of an attitude there. But yeah, really good. An important goal. So just sort of shut them up, really, if they thought they were ever going to get back into it.
Yeah, I mean, Barry, that was the key, wasn't it? It's another FA Cup goal for Parris. She's doing what she was brought in to do, really. She's scoring a few goals. Pretty sure she's in our top 5, isn't she, I think, in terms of goals scored.
Yeah.
I think, if I'm not mistaken that stat.
I mean, not
sorry,
bad.
Harry, just super quick if that's okay, because I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to be rude. You know what Alex written there? The reason it was muted is because we thought she'd hit it behind the goal off the hoarding, and then it had bounced back in and hit the back of the net. That's what we all thought would happen, because there wasn't a massive reaction from the rest of the players. That's why it was a bit muted, I think. There we go.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Barry, what do you make on on Parris's goal? And again, that kind of long ball that we know Letizier's got in her locker over the top to create it.
Yeah, I mean, not bad for a finished player, eh? Someone who was rubbish, could only score one goal at Arsenal, and was never going to be a success at the football club. And this is what I mean, people just needing to chill out a bit and actually give people a chance to see what they can do. I think she's been an absolutely fabulous signing, really. I think all of the signings that have played have been, they've all played their part. And I think I mean, I was watching it again, like I say, with mum and dad yesterday. And when we watched the Parris goal, I was just gobsmacked that she shot from there. You know, the audacity to have a shot from the position she was in. She absolutely should have passed it. You know, in my very best Andy Gray voice, you know, she had no right to score from there, none whatsoever. But she did put it in brilliantly. And I thought, fantastic. So, yeah, really pleased with Nikita. I thought that was a superb goal, a nice way to end it. You know, 3-1 is always a good score because at that point there was nothing really that Lewes could do. They probably felt like they were in the game. And then very soon we're out of it again. So, yeah, perfect, really. Just what we needed and sewed up the game and got to our first ever FA Cup semi-final game.
Especially because, as well, just on that Parris, I'm pretty sure she missed a very good chance about 2 or 3 minutes before that. And that's why I was convinced she was going to pass, because she had a very similar chance from the other side. I think it was about 5 minutes before, where she probably should have scored. It was the harder, it was somebody just put in the comments. She scored the harder shot. The easier one was on the right-hand side, and she missed. And then the one on the left, where she probably should have passed, she scored. So it's very good, good for her. As somebody's just put in the comments, joint second with Galton on 7 goals now. I think that's a fairly good return for a player that, she might still hit double figures by the end of the season. She might certainly get 1 or 2 more at the very least. I think that's a good return on a player that, a lot of people had doubts about when she came in. That's for sure.
No, I'm not having that. Not just doubts, Connor. Written off. People had written her off before she even had the chance of kicking a football. Let's have it right. If people are going to start saying things like that, people said Nikita Parris, and not everybody, of course not everybody, but the people that were anti-Nikita Parris blatantly put on. I mean, I quoted it. I literally said it there. A finished player. She's not a finished player. And this was my point. And I'm sorry, Theatre Guy, I don't want to upset you, but I genuinely think she scored more goals than Kirsty Hansen would have scored this season. Wow, and I love Kirsty Hansen.
That's a show for another time on Kirsty. That is for sure. So keep an eye out for
Have
that
we just
one.
found our Wednesday topic?
We need to talk about that afterwards, actually. Just reminded me. Kaz wasn't here earlier. There's something, Charlie, you mentioned the kind of Honor and Tooney link up and Vilde kind of floated in there as well. This could be a very creative game for us. Again, it's something I fully believe can work. Zellum dropping back and Tooney and Vilde playing in the same team. I fully believe that can work. Maybe not against your Chelsea's and maybe the teams that are going to have more of the ball, albeit Chelsea didn't when we went down there, but I certainly think that can work. Yes, 100%. We're all United fans. We're never going to agree on absolutely everything.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, there would be no point in doing a show on this, because if we're all sat here saying exactly the same thing, there's no point discussing it because everyone's saying exactly the same thing. And to be fair, I will agree. Yes, that's a very weird signing that Arsenal have made. However, the Arsenal fans are saying the same thing about Parris, the same things about Taylor, as a lot of United fans said about Parris. So there is that argument as well, but it's a very weird signing that, very strange. Russo on deadline day for record-breaking money and then go, that's just very, very bizarre, that's for sure. Let's go to the player of the match poll. I have a feeling this is going to be very one-sided. I've not looked yet, but I'll come to you both before I
Everyone's
end
got a
the
vote,
poll.
though.
They have, which is good. I'll end the poll now. So, Charles, who would you have gone for your
I did
player
vote.
of the match?
I actually voted for Maria. Oh, I like the way it does this poll thing now on the chat.
Oh, yeah, it's because I've started
Yeah.
ending it now in time.
Yeah, I voted for Maria. Now, the reason I voted for Maria is because I just feel like that block she made in the first 5 minutes, knowing sometimes how things go for us when we concede against a lower division club, we tend to struggle in those sorts of situations. And I think that moment was incredibly important. So for that moment, I've gone for Maria.
I think it's a fair shout, to be honest. I think, Barry, who would you have gone for, or who did you vote for if you did vote on it?
Well, I did. I deliberately made sure I log on at least once just to vote for the person that I'm going to go for. And I did that today. And I can in true karaoke style, I went for, and then I saw her face. Vilde by Risa, there's not a trace, a doubt in my mind. I'm in love. You're useless. I hope there were people out there in YouTube land going, ooh. Because if there weren't, you'll need to take a long hard look at yourself. That's atrocious. I'm never singing for you again. But yes, I went for Vilde by Risa. Brilliant. You know, I think she's been excellent. Absolutely brilliant. And plus, I can't keep giving it to Honor. It's getting boring. You're muted, Connor, so nobody can hear you, which, whilst making an absolute change and a delight, doesn't help for a host.
Yeah, no, I went for Vilde as well, is what I was saying. Because, again, I just thought she, controlled the game very well, created chances. She had a couple of good efforts, scored the goal. Yeah, that was a little bit. I don't know whether that's in reference
crickets, but look, people did do it. There's one. There's two.
John did it as well. There's the third.
God bless you, John. And he's not even a United fan.
So, and there's a few people that.
I mean, like, I wasn't really trying. I was once told I should go on the X Factor. Fact.
Don't know about
I'm not going to sing properly for you. I want money for that. Crikey, I don't know. You want the proper stuff. Start, paying for it.
John with Parris as well. But yeah, so Letitia got 2%, Maria got 7%, Vilde got 21%, and Honor is the winner with 68%. Kind of had a feeling it would. She's on 11 assists now. Again, another phenomenal performance from her. I'm actually going to look back at the end of the season as to how many votes Honor has got on these shows and see what the tally actually is of AFU kind of player of the match winners, because I have a feeling she's quite the way out in front when it comes to
call it now. I think she's probably player of the season.
I would expect so, unless she has a massive drop off. I would be very surprised if she doesn't, with the way she's playing. If she's not in the team, like the WSL 11 at the end of this season, there is something majorly wrong with whoever picks the decisions on that one. Right, we've been going for an hour and 20 odd minutes, so we'll look to wrap it up there. It certainly has. Tonight. We've covered literally everything. We've gone back to the 80s, through the 90s to the 2000s, done all of those things. We've had a bit of karaoke and talked about the game. We've done absolutely everything. We'll be back on Wednesday. I don't know what the topic is yet. Me and Barry can have a discussion about that after this. So 7 o'clock on Wednesday, and the preview will be on Thursday, because obviously we're playing Saturday, so the West Ham preview show will be on Thursday evening, rather than the usual Friday slot as well, so make sure you check that out. The men's channel, I believe, is live tomorrow, so if you want to talk more about that, obviously another semi-finalist, another 3-1 over Fulham, I'm sure that's going to get mentioned tomorrow, so make sure you check that out as well.
What a game that was.
It certainly was. Absolute mayhem from 72 minutes to 79. The rest of the game wasn't actually that great, but those kind of 9 minutes were pretty spectacular. So that was...
Oh, I've never seen this before. That's lovely. We have to, because Connor's got to go and plug himself in, charge himself up again for tomorrow.
What?
Well, it's not real hair, is it? We all know it's like,
It's doing a bit of a flowing thing today. I don't know what's going on here, but there we are. It's a whole different story. I'm glad nobody in the comments mentioned it, but they probably will now. I've just pointed it out. Right, so we'll look to wrap it up then. And also make sure you're doing all the usual liking and subscribing. Yes, we'll see you all on Twitter tomorrow for the draw. Tomorrow, 9 o'clock in the morning. It'll probably get drawn at 10:30 because we know how long these draws are.
Can I just point out, as a final thing, I think this is disgusting. I tweeted about it, but I'm really annoyed. Like, the men's one was done in the middle of a Sunday and was clearly put on. Why is it being put on at 9:15 in the morning on some random BBC One show that nobody watches when everybody's literally just started work? As if it's just an inconsequential part of it. Put it on at the same time as the men or immediately after the FA Cup games have been played. Stop faffing about and putting a lack of importance on something that's actually really important. I was really frustrated about that. So now at 9:15, when I'm in the middle of sorting out English and doing stuff like that with a bunch of kids, I can't go sneaking off and look on my. I've got to wait until one of you lot puts it through and hope it comes through on my watch. It's an absolute disgrace. Sort it out, FA. It's bang out of order. If I had a stopwatch, I'd launch it against the wall. Disgusting. Anyway, see you all on Wednesday.
That's how we'll end it. Yeah, so make sure you obviously check out the Twitter and all those kind of things for all of those. Jazz, everyone in the comments, thanks for joining us. You've been absolutely fantastic, as you always are. So make sure you tune back in on Wednesday, and we shall see you guys then.